Update. My ex-best friend attempted to take her life. Original post. And I don't care. I haven't reached out. She slept with my boyfriend behind my back. We're both 20 females and we've been friends since reception. 4 to 5 years old. UK thing. She was my sister, my rock. We stood by each other through everything. When my parents divorced, she was there to offer a shoulder for me to cry on. When her grandmother died, I was there keeping her afloat throughout high school. I'd been dating my boyfriend, 21 male, for about 3 years. We started dating in 6th form, a version of UK college, and he was my first serious relationship. I introduced him to my family. He was many of my firsts. He was sweet, a little awkward being a gamer guy, but it treated me to date nights and always made me feel special. Maybe this is me being young and dumb, but I thought I'd marry this guy someday. This was something I told my best friend. Well, about a month ago, while my boyfriend was in the shower, I saw a text notification pop up on his phone. We looked at each other's notifications all the time, so I grabbed his phone to see it. It was from her, asking if they were still on for tonight and if she should wear his favorite dress. He told me he was hanging out with friends and going drinking. Him going drinking with friends wasn't unusual, so I never thought anything of it. But in hindsight, I wonder how much of him going out was with friends and how much of it was going out with her. I saved screenshots of their conversations. I sent them to myself. I showed him the messages when he came out of the bathroom and demanded he explain himself about them. I couldn't contain how upset and angry and hurt I was. An argument ensued, where I told him he was disgusting and I left his place. Shortly after arriving home, I started getting bombarded with calls and texts from my best friend. I answered none of her calls. I couldn't stomach hearing her voice. But her texts ranged from, "She never meant to hurt me. My boyfriend hit on her first. It didn't mean anything." Then it got angry, saying I should hear her out. That if I was a real friend, I would take her calls. That I'm being petty and childish for not listening to her side. Then back to sad, saying I was her closest friend in the world and she didn't want to lose me. My boyfriend was strangely quiet during this time. After a few days, I got myself together enough to send them both messages. Maybe it was cowardly, but I didn't have the strength to call them. I told my now ex-boyfriend that we were done, and I won't give cheaters any chances with me. He responded by trying to call me, but after the 3rd or 4th attempt, he gave up. He sent me a final message saying it wasn't that big of a deal, that they just fooled around, but agreeing he didn't want to date me anymore. My ex-best friend was more persistent. After I told her I wanted nothing to do with her. Day after day I'd get messages and calls from her, demanding to talk, demanding we resolve this, demanding I not say anything to anyone, saying she stopped seeing him, saying she'll end herself if I don't talk to her. Really messed up stuff. I ended up confiding to a mutual friend about what was going on because I was seriously beginning to wonder if I was being cruel. But this friend reassured me that my feelings were justified. However, I wasn't expecting this friend to spread around what happened. The gossip spread like wildfire, and a few days ago, my ex-best friend tried to take her life. I said nothing. I haven't visited her in the hospital. I haven't sent any messages to her family. Now her older sister keeps messaging me, telling me I'm a heartless witch for leaving her at her lowest, for not trying to prevent this, and that everyone makes mistakes, and that her sister didn't intentionally hurt me. Maybe it does make me a heartless witch, but I don't care. I'm relieved she survived, but I'll never forgive her. I'll never forgive her betrayal. She destroyed our friendship when she slept with my boyfriend. Now for the top comments before reading the update. You are not a heartless witch. You are the victim of a heartless witch and a cheating bastard. Your friend betrayed you in the worst way, then tried to emotionally manipulate you into continuing the friendship so she could alleviate her own guilt. What she chose to do after that is also on her. All of this mess is of her making, and you owe her nothing. Not sympathy, not forgiveness, and certainly not friendship. We have to trust friends after all. For your sake, OP, you need to find a way to move forward without bitterness, because that will only hurt you more. However, you have to do that, whether that's with therapy or whatever, you need to do it. But that does not mean you have to allow this person back into your life or listen to anyone who says otherwise. Agreed. Hate and resentment is a poison we keep for ourselves. Like they say, the best revenge is going on to have a wonderful and happy life. Be glad these two showed you who they are, and now you know. You are not wasting more time on these fools. Thank you. I'll do my best. I've got plenty going on to keep me busy, and I've got friends to keep me sane through all this. I still get angry and sad at them both from time to time, but I'm getting there. That her sister didn't intentionally hurt me. Your best friend was still making current plans to continue cheating with your boyfriend. Sounds pretty intentional. None of it is her fault, and you're not obligated to ease your former best friend's mind with attention or forgiveness. She's suffering the consequences of her own actions, and I hope your ex is suffering the same. I freaking hate cheaters. I don't know if my ex-BFF told her family the full story. If her sister wanted a calm discussion about it, I would have been more than happy to. But she was typing horrible things in my DMs, so I've just blocked her and move on. I actually don't know what's happening with my ex. He rarely posts on social media, and our social circles and friend groups are pretty different. One of his friends did try to call me, but they hung up before I could answer. Good, don't contact her or her family. That's done for. You're not responsible for her mental health. And make better friends, not gossiping ones like the one who told everyone. Just cut them off. And if your family tries to pressure you to be friends with her, warn them that you're not above going low contact with them. Block them all as well. Unfortunately, I don't think the friend I had told had intended for it to get so bad. She really helped me understand that I wasn't being an awful person for not giving my ex-BFF a second chance. She cheered me up and made me feel better, but she told the rest of our friend group. And after that, it was like Pandora's box. I blocked my ex and my ex-BFF. I blocked her sister as well, and it's looking like I'll need to block one of her cousins. This makes me a little sad. I was always so close with her cousins. My dad agrees with me 100% and told me I was doing the right thing. When I told my mom, I could tell that she was disappointed and tried suggesting I talk to my ex-BFF, but I shut that down real quick and she backed off. Now for the update. Hey again, it's been a while. First, I want to thank everyone for all of their comments and support. In hindsight, I know now I wasn't being a witch, but in the moment when I was being bombarded by texts and calls from my family, it's hard not to let those thoughts mess with your head. I didn't know if I was going to post an update, but some things have happened, so this might get a little long. Sorry. Giving fake names. Ex-BFF is Nikki. Her older sister is Tammy. Ex-boyfriend is Josh. I'll name anyone relevant as I go. So, I mentioned in a comment that my mom wanted to speak to me later that day. I had a few replies warning me that she would try to pressure me into forgiving Nikki, and they were right. She came over to my dad's place that evening and wanted a conversation in private. She asked if I'd spoken to Nikki yet. I said no. She asked if I was going to. I said no. I was trying to be as firm as possible because I knew what she was about to do. She asked, "Don't you think you should?" My response was, "No, I don't see why I should." I sent her a final message almost a month ago. This is where things began to really go south in a conversation. "Mom, love, she's in a hospital right now. She needs all the support she can get. You're meant to be her friend." I didn't even know about her condition until her mother called me. Me? Really? I'm meant to be her friend after she slept with Josh behind my back? I didn't say anything about her because I didn't want to talk about her. Mom, are you really going to hold on to a silly grudge? I understand she hurt you. She's hurting so much more right now, love. Me? She is hurting? Mom, yes, you both are. I raised you to be a kind, forgiving person. Why can't you forgive her? Me? What? Like how Dad should have forgiven you? This wasn't my finest moment. I didn't bring it up before because it wasn't relevant, but a reason why my parents divorced was due to infidelity on my mom's end. And it wasn't only a one-time thing. Not that it matters even if it had been, but my mom always believed Dad should have just forgiven her. I admit this was a low blow for me, and the conversation spiraled into an argument from there, with both of us saying some not-so-kind things to each other. Eventually, I decided the conversation was over because we were just going around in circles and heading into yelling territory. So I told her to leave and I'll try talking to her again when we're both calmed down. When she was leaving, she said this, "I hope you're not as cruel as your father." I'm typically not an angry person, but this infuriated and hurt me. I lived 50-50 between my parents. They both made sure I had everything I could need or want. But she felt her situation and struggles were undeserved. Dad never helped with bills or payments that didn't involve me, and she expected more. Cheaters always do. I didn't say anything when she left. I just blocked her number and social media accounts and cried. She cared more about a girl who had hurt her daughter than said daughter. She realized pretty quick what had happened and came back the next day, but Dad told her I didn't want to talk to her, Drew, and she had to leave. It took maybe half an hour before she finally left. The next few days, she kept trying to reach me through other people, but I stayed silent. The Friday after my post, I decided I felt calm enough to talk to her and had blocked her. We spoke over the phone, which wasn't as exciting as above. Basically, it was her apologizing and telling me she was wrong for trying to force me to forgive Nikki, that she'll respect my decision, but tried to suggest I think about it. I very firmly told her I was not forgiving Nikki, and she just said okay. Things didn't really feel the same with us. I couldn't bring myself to be as chatty with her as I was before, and it didn't help that she kept giving me updates about Nikki. The first time she did it, she told me Nikki had been put on a 72-hour psych hold, assessed, and eventually released. I told her I don't want any updates on Nikki's situation. I won't stop her from checking in, but I didn't want to be involved. She complained and said she thought I'd want to visit her, but I threatened to block her again if she kept pushing, and she shut up. Nothing was mentioned about Nikki for a couple of weeks before Mom again broke my boundary and brought her up, telling me about how Josh had stopped talking to her and how Nikki needed a shoulder to cry on. I again told her I didn't want to know, and this was her last chance not to bring her up, or I would cut her from my life. She complained again, but eventually promised it wouldn't happen again. Maybe I should have learned from my mistakes because I know my mother. She doesn't take no for an answer. It was really quiet for a while. My friends and I had all basically carried on from what happened, and even though I know a couple of them still occasionally talk to Nikki, they never bring her up around me or tell her, I hope, how I'm doing. I thought I could finally close this chapter on my life, but nope. Today, my mother called me and asked if I wanted to get lunch. I hadn't seen her in a while, so what was the harm? I head to the Weatherspoons we planned to eat at, and who do I find sitting with my mom? Nikki and her sister Tammy. As soon as Nikki sees me, she gets up and tries to hug me. But I just raise a hand and take a step back, and this girl has the audacity to look upset. Mom immediately knows she's messed up because she's scrambling with all of the excuses. It hurts to see you two fall apart like this. You were so close. I thought you'd forgive her by now. And my favorite, she made a mistake. She misses you. During this time, Nikki has been quiet, and I can see Tammy's glaring at me. I'm just so freaking angry and upset. I honestly didn't think she'd pull something like this. I wanted to leave and cry, but I looked at Nikki and said, for someone who's made a mistake, she sure hasn't apologized for it yet. She had this guilty look on her face and muttered something about me having her blocked and having no way to. I said, is that really all you have to say? And she just looked at me confused. I was done. I turned to leave and her sister started yelling at me, saying that I owed Nikki a second chance with all the trauma I put her through, while Nikki was begging me to just listen to her and talk to her. I told them all to buzz off and never contact me again and left. I managed to get out of there before Tammy started a fight and went home, where I sent my mom a text a while ago telling her she'd better lose my number because she no longer has a spot in my life. Then I blocked her and just cried. My dad's been doing his best to comfort me, but it just hurts so bad that my own mother did this to me. So that's where things are at right now. I'll update if anything else happens, but this whole situation really freaking sucks. Good on you for knowing your own morals and thoughts and not letting anyone else tell you how to think. I hope your dad supports you in this. My dad has been my rock through this. He's always had my back. We've spent the last few hours having some drinks and chatting, just helped take my mind off things. Kudos for your stance, Opie. Really proud of you. I hope you can get away from all of them and find better people. Better friends, for example. Not defending your mother at all, but she's likely not choosing Nikki. She just sees herself in her as a cheater and realizes that if you can't forgive Nikki, you'll never truly forgive your mother for cheating on your dad. Not sure if you have forgiven her for that or not, but she probably sees it that way. As in, if you forgive Nikki, then obviously she can expect you to forgive her. It's stupid and she's still an a-hole. Just maybe it will hurt a bit less if her motivation isn't quite as simple and one-sided as you think. Like her dumb motivation is to get you to forgive her, not put Nikki's feelings ahead of your own. You may have a point. I was quite angry at my mom for a while when they divorced, as I was old enough to learn why, but my dad always encouraged me to have a relationship with her. I never spoke poorly about her around me, and our relationship eventually repaired. I don't know if it can be repaired this time. Surprise, surprise, that her cheater mother tried to get her to forgive Nikki. My heart breaks for Opie, but I have a feeling that now that she's blocked 2 major toxic individuals from her life, at least for now, she's going to step away, look back, and see that neither was as supportive and wonderful as she remembered. She was just conditioned by her mother to put up with a lot of BS. I really can't get over how many people in the world seem to think that forgiveness should come before apology, accountability, and attempted repair. Forgiveness is last. Perpetrators have to do the work first. Even then, it's not owed. Should Opie take every chance she has to mess with Nikki's life and make her miserable? Absolutely not, and she hasn't. She is doing what is healthiest, which is to cut contact and do the work to move on. You don't have to make someone feel better about what they did nor forgive them to move on. Exactly. My dad was on his bed dying from cancer, and everyone in his family kept telling me I needed to forgive him before he passed away. And then staged interventions for me to get me to forgive him. Guess in his mind he was going to hell if his only daughter wasn't forgiving him. Meanwhile, he never once apologized or owned up to the fact that he was a horrible human being to me. Eventually, he passed away, but he never once apologized to me and I never once told him I forgave him. His wife blames me for him being in hell now, but I just tell her I don't believe in that. I basically told her he's in a hell of his own making. Thing is, while I didn't really forgive him, I just didn't care about him anymore. It took me 7 years to get to that point before he passed away, but I no longer felt any resentment or anger or anything when it came to him. My stepsister was like, "So you do forgive him?" But I didn't. I just accepted the fact he wasn't going to hold himself accountable for the crap he put me through, nor was he going to attempt to fix it. In my mind, forgiveness doesn't work if the person doesn't realize what they did or think and why they need to be forgiven. Funny part is, I apologized for my part in our whole issue. He didn't say anything about me being forgiven, but I don't care. My mistakes were small potatoes compared to him, and I have forgiven myself for putting up with him a long time ago.